is a kind of beauty that happiness rarely gives us, and it always arrives before we know how to name it. Not the beauty of applause or celebration, but something older and quieter, like memory returning softly through rain-stained glass. Listening again, I realize sorrow can feel less like pain and more like wisdom that has paid dearly for itself. The song carried heartbreak, memory, and weariness. Yet what unsettled me most was how deeply I wanted to enter it. Even before life had broken my heart, I was drawn to sadness because it felt mature, worldly, and strangely elegant. That is the paradox. We say we seek happiness, yet our most cherished art keeps guiding us towards sorrow. Entire philosophies praise joy as life's highest aim, and even nations have tried to measure success through happiness, and still we return to tragic novels, aching songs, and lonely paintings, as though they know us more intimately. We replay heartbreak and linger before isolated faces, because sadness seems to hold truths that joy cannot sustain. So if happiness is our biological destination, why does sorrow contain such deep, complicated, and beautiful pleasure within it? From a practical view, sadness seems inefficient, almost like a design flaw. Evolution should have removed from us long ago. Joy appears better suited for bonding, survival, attraction, and cooperation, while melancholy seems only to slow, burden, and isolate us. And yet sadness appears everywhere, across languages, continents, and centuries, wearing different faces. Darwin noticed this universality, and his observation leaves behind a haunting question. What purpose could sadness possibly serve? One possible clue is that some burdens survive, precisely because they reveal something deeper than comfort ever can. Think of the peacock's extravagant tail, beautiful, inconvenient, almost impractical, and yet powerful precisely because it is such a burden. Its weight becomes a message. I am strong enough to survive, while carrying this impossible and unnecessary beauty. By that logic, profound sadness may be human beauty under pressure, evidence of a mind capable of carrying emotional weight. To suffer, remain awake, and still search for meaning requires more than feeling. It requires endurance, structure, and depth. Perhaps that is why sadness can appear beautiful. Not because it is pleasant, but because it reveals serious strength. For centuries, artists and philosophers have sensed that sadness is not merely an emotion, but a way of seeing. A happy person may enjoy the world, but a sorrowful one often notices its fragility, distance, and passing beauty. That may be why melancholy has so often been treated as the secret companion of genius, seriousness, and imagination. Hartley Coleridge believed sadness refined the soul, stripping away the trivial until only depth, sympathy, and vision remained. George Eliot went further, suggesting that sorrow measures our capacity for sympathy, because grief grows in proportion to love. What hurts most is often what mattered most, which is why sadness can feel less ugly than quietly noble. In Japan, Mono no Aware names the tender sadness of impermanence, the ache that beauty cannot stay forever. A blossom falls, light changes. A season ends, and the heart responds not with panic, but with tenderness. The Romans understood this too. Virgil wrote that there are tears in things, as if the world itself grieves. Masterpieces emerge from sadness, because sorrow brings us closest to life's fragility, and fragility is where beauty deepens. In 1514, Albrecht Dürer gave this idea unforgettable form in his legendary engraving Melancholia, the first in the history of visual art. Sadness is not only an emotion, it becomes a sacred condition of creation. A winged figure sits surrounded by tools, geometry, and silence, as if knowledge itself has reached a painful standstill. Everything in the image suggests reason, measurement, architecture, and ambition, yet nothing is actually being built. Before the Renaissance, melancholy was often treated as a sin, a spiritual heaviness dangerously close to failure. Then thinkers like Ficino and Agrippa began to imagine melancholy, not as weakness but as the temperament of genius. They believed black bile could raise the mind toward metaphysical truth, turning sorrow into a ladder toward higher understanding. Dürer's figure is not empty or idle. She is paralyzed by vision, trapped at the edge of what she can know. The pain of the artist begins, where imagination exceeds expression, where beauty is seen more clearly than it can be made. In that sense, sadness becomes a bridge from limitation to longing, from frustration to revelation, from human grief to art. As the modern world accelerated through cities, industry, and electric light, sadness slowly changed its shape into solitude. No painter captured that new loneliness more clearly than Edward Hopper, who turned quiet rooms and empty windows into revelation. While others painted glamour, parties, and movement, Hopper painted people who looked as though they had somehow missed the invitation. Even when people share a table, Hopper's compositions build invisible borders between them, using color, shadow, and stillness. Even when people share a table, Hopper's compositions build invisible borders between them, using color, shadow, and stillness. A woman sits on a hotel bed in morning light, perfectly composed, yet divided from herself by the geometry around her. What is extraordinary is that Hopper's sadness does not attack us. It settles the room and slows the heart. His paintings let us contemplate our own melancholy from a safer distance, and that distance can feel strangely merciful. In contemporary cinema, this elegant loneliness finds new form in neon streets, blurred crowds, and suspended time itself. Here, heartbreak is expressed not through explanation, but through light repetition, drifting bodies, and the ache of almost connection. Wong Kar Wai slows the body while the city rushes past, making loneliness feel suspended between memory, desire, and time. His films make heartbreak visible through repetition, mistiming in bodies orbiting one another, without ever full arriving. And our attraction to such sadness is not irrational. Tragic art often clarifies what ordinary happiness prevents us from seeing. In the dark theater, fictional grief becomes a safe mirror, allowing us to rehearse loss without surrendering to it. We leave sad films strangely lighter, because they return us to our own lives, with sharpened gratitude and attention. The tears we shed for imagined people can make real love feel less invisible, fragile, and taken for granted. Sadness does not only wound us, sometimes it cleans the lens through which we finally notice what matters. We spend so much of life fleeing sorrow, treating it as error, weakness, or evidence that something has gone wrong. But art keeps whispering a different truth. Sadness may also prove that we have cared, remembered, and loved deeply. So when a tragic song or lonely image stops, you stay with it. Elegant sorrow may be your humanity speaking. Happiness may brighten a moment, but sorrow often deepens it, giving ordinary life a weight that beauty alone cannot carry. Perhaps that is why we return to sad art, again and again, not to suffer more, but to feel more honestly. Sorrow reminds us that love is finite, fragile, and therefore infinitely more precious than we often allow ourselves to notice. A lonely painting can feel intimate, because sorrow dissolves distance between strangers. Beauty becomes unforgettable when it is passing, and sadness is often the feeling that tells us something mattered. That is the strange mercy of tragedy. It can leave us wounded for a moment, but more awake afterward. After sorrow has passed through us, the ordinary world can return, not smaller but gentler. Maybe the masterpieces that move us most are not escapes from sorrow, but mirrors polished by it. So tell me, which sad masterpiece has stayed with you long after the music, the film, or the image ended? Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more explorations into art, philosophy, and the hidden beauty of being human.